be honest. It's not enough. Hey.
Speaking of enough.
Yes. Is this enough? Are we enough?
Are we enough for you?
Enough? Are we enough
still
for
alive from
the world? Say again? Do we meet the standards that the world have set for us?
God, I hope not. I hope not. I hope the world is just forever disappointed in me. And we're just below what their expectations are, because fuck them.
Yep. So let's see. I is Bobby. That's exactly the reason why we do the, here's a bunch of crap to look at before the stream actually starts. Because of, it's people make their way over here at different rates and whatnot, and we try to give enough time for us to be prepared, as well as people to show up and not miss a whole lot, or the setup of the whole stream or something like that. Which there is a setup to this whole stream. There is something that we have to set into motion. If you haven't been paying attention to previous streams, by the way, hi, welcome to the Force Diversity Podcast. I'm Dane. This is Morgan.
I'm Morgan.
Why did I say that for you? You could have said that.
I could have said that for me. Yeah, I could have. I was already. I was.
All right, I'll get the hang of this shit. Okay, I'll get
one of these days, Dane.
One of these years, I'll be a good host.
Wow. It'll be really sweet when you do it.
It'll be on accident, and it'll be a very fleeting moment, but it'll happen.
I'm just picturing Doctor Strange from Endgame holding up the one.
Yep, that's it. Hey, speaking of the one, and kind of related to that, so we knew that the recent issue of Iron Man was going to be, mech fight.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was going to be all splash pages.
It is. Oops, all splash pages.
I love it.
They were just like, "Hey, Morgan," and I'm like, "What? Do you want like 23 pages of splash pages of robot fighting?" And I'm like, yes, I would. Thank you very much.
Yep. It's like, look, this thing is so huge. We're not even going to try and fit it into some panels.
Right.
And then he's like literally just like squashing Sentinels with like clapping them and just like, bam, Sentinel's dead. It's gone. Anyway, this is why I'm a bad host, because I start just like thinking about random comic book stuff, and then I'm like, we're off on that.
I mean, in your defense, I did bring up Doctor Strange and Iron Man from Infinity.
Is that really? I mean, because really what I said has nothing to do with it.
I mean, it's got something to do with Iron Man, right? Like, I'm trying to give you cover. I'm trying to give you cover.
For fuck's sake. Anyway, so we are going to be starting the series. The series.
This is the series.
We're the only podcast that is doing anything like this right now.
Definitely not the only one this week.
No, we are the only ones ever who will ever do this.
Sure.
Don't listen to any other podcasts, because if you do, you listen to them and you might hear some stuff that sounds similar or something. No, I do want to give a coincidental, but also just overall shout out and pay tribute to one of the daddy casts of this podcast, meaning the inspiration, which is Behind the Bastards with Robert Evans.
Heard we were doing a history of conservatism and then beat us to the punch.
Yeah, he heard we were doing this and he was like, you know what, I'm going to help those guys out, because I know they're really bad at getting prepared for they've already kicked this can down the road a couple of times now, and I'm going to help them out, is what he said.
Well, to be fair, the last time we kicked it down the can, it was because X-Men 97 and like
yeah. But yeah, he's done, I think, 2 episodes out now of it's not really the history of conservatism, it's the series on how conservatism has won, basically.
Right.
And that's
it's very interesting,
bleak thing. But what he's done is he's taken, I've had a bunch of notes and stuff that I was going to talk about, and of course there's some overlap with that, but then after listening to the first 2 episodes of that, I definitely took some notes from structure, like not the entire structure, but like how can I kind of approach this and blah blah blah. And I just wanted that to be known and said, because even though I haven't written any script about this really, I just don't want it to be perceived as I'm just stealing from him shamelessly or something.
Byron, we're going to be talking Project 2025.
Yeah, and the whole thing is couched in the 2025 of it all. Obviously, because the thumbnail's big Project 2025 thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal, is just to kind of like figure out. Okay, so like where did we get on this track that led to where we're at right now, where we're months away from a real possibility of a president entering the office and having a plan, a comprehensive plan that has been worked out for, well,
By the time it happens, 2 years.
yeah. But I mean, really more like in the grand scheme of it, that plan has been in the works for decades.
Right.
They've been laying the groundwork for this. And somebody was saying the other day, like, how whenever they were for years before Roe v. Wade was overturned, right?
Mm-hmm.
There would be arguments about it. People would be discussing it in media or in debates or whatever. And most people on the left or liberals or whatever would be like, why are we even talking about this? This is fucking established law of the land.
Joke's on them.
Yeah, we were taking it for granted and like we thought they were idiots. We're like, these idiots, they're just bringing this up because they're just, trying to appeal to their base and get some votes or whatever. That's probably true. But also, they were not going to give up, and they didn't.
I would like to give some credit to the not stupid parts of the atheist movement who were paying attention to the rising Christian fascism, who had been sounding the alarm on this, along with, abortion activists who have done, nothing but sound the alarm on this for decades. Especially because we've had a lot of things like abortion clinic bombings and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like this, that it was settled law was never settled. Right. And I think that goes to a liberal misconception that conservatives care about the law.
It also goes to liberal misconception is to just like liberalism error of the end of history, right?
Right.
Like we've gone as far as we're going to go, and like we can kind of rest on our laurels that like everything is about as good as it's going to get. We're kind of just tweaking for maintenance at this point, kind of thing.
Ever since I heard about the end of history, which was probably 6-7 years ago now, I'm like, that's a really conservative mindset that like now we're just tweaking things. It's just like, I don't know that that's a good way to go about a society.
Well, I mean, especially because as we've been, we broadly, vaguely, most people have been assuming that things are just the way they are now. And, like what, in the meantime, there are people who know better.
Right.
And they're kind of fashy. And they've
just a smidgy pidgey. They're just a little bit fashy as a treat.
That history does not stop.
No.
The government is a fluid thing. If you know how to, kind of, it's kind of like what does Stryker say about adamantium in X-Men 2? It's like
I haven't watched X-Men 2 in probably 15 years.
He says the tricky thing about adamantium Wolverine is once you get it hot, you have to keep it that way, because once it gets hard, I don't know. It's not a really good metaphor. I was just thinking about Wolverine again.
It is Year of the Bub.
We might as well go ahead and get that out of the way, actually.
Because I think the last issue of X-Force just came out.
Yeah, I read it. I got it.
Ooh, I have not had the chance yet, but I am also not adverse to being spoilers because I spoiled because I kind of think I know how it's going to end.
Yourself by being someone who knows how comic books go and saw the seeds being planted. Like it's almost exactly what it seemed like it was going to be.
I'm a little disappointed that it was like I really wish I would have written like in an envelope like this is how this is going to end, because I have a feeling it's going to end how I thought it was going to end.
Well, okay, so we can actually look at it because I kind of want to verify what happened in the last few pages, because it got wrapped up really fast.
That's what I've heard.
Like holy shit, why did this go so fast?
Right.
So what's happening is Beast has decided he's going to shoot the Mars rather, with this kind of weapon thing that's going to open a black hole and suck the Araco mutants into it, which will actually protect them. It's going to take them and hide them from Orcus, who has stated their goal to wipe out mutants. And
just some light genocide, like you do.
I'm talking about, I don't want to say Dark Beast, but yeah, he's kind of Dark Beast now.
He's Darkest Beast.
I don't know. He's not Darkest. I think you need to reread some of the shit that Dark Beast was into.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was enjoying some shit that was like, oh, God.
I don't think this Beast enjoys what he's doing. I think he sees himself as like this necessary evil, but I think he's also high on his own supply.
Yeah. and he definitely tries to make the hard sell to naive Beast, to young Beast,
right.
Which is probably the highlight of the issue, is just that what we all saw coming, which is they were going to have a meeting. They tried to paint it for a while at like this new Beast, meaning the younger. So let me see where they uncorked him at.
It's young Beast, but not young Beast from All New X-Men.
Yeah, they specifically say where he's from, what era, and it's like the New Defenders Beast.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So a while back, Okay, so yeah, let me get this up here on the screen.
Loading. Keep those pages loading.
So we got Simon and Beast here. Team up of, I guess, that everybody's been waiting for. That's good, Greg. That's a good descriptor, distinction there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a cover.
That's a cool cover
for number 50. 50 issues, pretty good, man. Like, I mean, that's
a good run
these days.
That's a good run these days. Yeah,
you don't see many going past like 25 or so. 50, I'd say. Actually, I would go ahead and say that that's what I've noticed in the last maybe 5-6 years with Marvel. Anyway, is that 50 is about as good as you can expect.
I would say even going back to like the mid 2000s, like that's a long runner.
So they're running from the this ship.
The baddies. It's an Orcus ship.
Is it an Orcus ship, or is it?
I think so.
I think that was the X-Men, maybe. X-Force. So so nonetheless, they get right here. They go down into the water to get this missile thing that's down there. Beast being adorable. He's like, I'm afraid we must abandon ship, my friend. The deep awaits us.
Just like the Kelsey grammar, and I know it's not Kelsey grammar, but like even in the animated series, I can't help but think of Kelsey grammar, and I know that's an affront to.
And like here, he's like, there are enemies above us and below, but I feel nothing but reassured with an ally like you by my side. Thank you, Simon, for joining me on this adventure.
Aw, that's so sweet.
He says, you would have done the same for me. It's nothing. He says, it's not nothing. Friendship, loyalty, love. These are the things that give life meaning. Clearly distinguishing him from the guy that's about to grab Simon.
Right.
And yeah.
And give him the old chokey.
Send him on his way. He doesn't kill him. He just kind of like blasts him with, I guess he takes the pressure out of his tank or whatever.
Oh, he shoots his tank, so it sends him team rocketing up to the surface.
Okay, so here's what I was looking for. So this Beast consciousness is left behind from years ago when a happier, more innocent Beast was in the New Defenders. And yeah. So this obviously also takes place before Sabretooth War.
Right.
With him having a body and them being
everyone being alive.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's Laura right there.
I was going to say, I see some pre-corpses. I don't see one of them, but I see some pre-corpses in this.
So yeah, here's where Beast, goes to tell him, like, hey, come on, I want to show you some shit. I'm going to tell you about what I got going on down here. You're going to love it. You're going to love it.
He in fact will not love it, I imagine.
He doesn't like it, no. Then they get kind of hit with some of these Wolverine's corpse sentinels.
I love the Wolverine corpse sentinels. I fucking love that.
It makes sense,
It really does. It's just like, come on, who did not? You know what the problem is they got rid of X Factor, right? They closed X Factor, and now who's supposed to go collect all the bodies, right? Like that's why you needed X Factor, to make sure you're not leaving Wolverine parts everywhere. Shit, guy gets around.
So, yeah, you got Logan jumping down into the deep to go after the beasts.
Mm-hmm.
You got Laura going just like head on at this Orcus ship.
That's how you know she's Wolverine. What are you gonna do to that jet? I'm gonna fucking claw it.
Yeah, I'm gonna kill it.
I have 2 claws and bad attitude. It is all
I
you
wish
need to
I wish we
destroy.
had time for me to just kind of read this whole conversation because it is the highlight of the book, really. Just kind of like the moral argument with himself.
Right.
Um,
Takes the glasses. Huh. So before you get to the end, can I put in my guess for what happens?
sure.
That one of them survives, but we have no way of knowing which one actually survived.
Yeah, I think that's kind of maybe generally what the case is.
All right. I kind of had a feeling they were going to hedge their bets that way, but
You got young Beast here saying you're acting as Magneto once did. And he says Magneto was right.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah. Um, then the wrestling starts. The
Right.
Beast wrestling that's bound to
Got a
happen.
beast wrestle.
Then they they get to destroy a Sentinel. It's number 50, final issue. They better destroy a fucking Sentinel.
They should get to destroy a Sentinel. And one of them fancy Stark Sentinels.
Which apparently there's way more of than anybody realized.
There's a fucking ton of them.
On
the moon.
Yeah, definitely more than Stark realized, and more than
Yeah.
And then there's a pretty good little scrap with Beast and Wolverine.
A boy's got to have it out.
Yeah. Well, Wolverine's been dealing with this for quite a while now.
I'm sick of your shit.
So it's a black hole gun is what it is, right? And Wolverine is telling him to take out the black hole gun because, you are telling them up top, Domino and everybody, because if that thing goes off, it's going to fucking,
It's going to be a problem.
Not work the way that Beast is thinking it is. He's kind of, yeah.
Beast has an idea in his head. It might not be a good idea, but boy, howdy, he has it.
He says, I'm the last hope for mutant kind here.
That's some ego.
Already, I think that's like a really bad read of what's happening here. I think that's really, that's like, honestly, this just reads like you have probably not read a comic book in quite some time. And yeah, I don't know, this is like copy pasta bullshit.
I do think that like Marvel does have a history of like the heroes have to fight before they get along.
If this was 2012 or 2010, 2008, I'd be like, yeah, it's gotten ridiculous. But like hasn't been that way in quite some time with Marvel. Like this is a moral conundrum that's come up. Whether or not you like it, what's happening or not, it is an organic response solution of kind of consequence of the story.
I would also reject the premise on this Beast is not a hero. Sorry.
Yeah, that's true.
He's been up to some shit. He has not been a good guy in a hot minute.
The Bluebird gets taken out.
I'm gonna miss the Bluebird.
And then here's young Beast, naive Beast as we'll call him. Don't protect your weapon, protect your friends. Please don't prove me wrong. You can do better. So he's pleading to him to do better. And here comes Simon, Wonder Man. He's gonna save the day. And he's like, this is for old friends. He's like, it's probably gonna kill him though. It's the gun is powered by a nuclear reactor.
Wonder Man is durable. I don't know that he's that durable.
I think they're trying to implicitly say that his ionic form cannot withstand the blast or something.
Probably. That makes sense.
So, fucking Colossus gets thrown into the jet. That's pretty great.
Also, Sentinel team killing.
Yep. Omega Red he doesn't stop. He keeps going. Give him a good shock with the tendrils.
Yep.
Yeah, you got Beast here. That blast will kill you, fool. And he says, Beast. And then, boom. All right. So it seems like Shitty Beast saved Wonder Man.
Uh-huh.
It actually kind of doesn't seem as ambiguous as I thought it might after reading it first time. Right? I mean, like they would have to say that he changed into the same armor that he was wearing.
That's true, because that was the dive suit that contemporary Beast had, not past Beast.
And the last time we saw that, like he's saying, don't protect your weapon, protect your friends. That's there's no chance for them to switch.
Swap them. Okay, yeah, they didn't switch.
So like even at the end here, it does seem like this Shitty Beast, somewhat tried to do the right thing.
Well, good for him.
His friendship with Wonder Man kind of won out in the end.
I think what worries me is, especially when you're talking about like a pre-reboot time where it's like they're gonna hedge their bets, because like if they want to do a story with that callous Beast again, they can just like go, oh, it was him the whole time.
Yeah, they'll figure something out for sure.
Yeah,
like,
peak comic book behavior.
I mean, like in between panels, Shitty Beast put some kind of device on his back. The other guys, and it's like absorbed his consciousness into his body or something like that.
Something, yeah.
I mean, if Captain America can be assassinated, but no, wait, he wasn't actually assassinated.
It was a time
shot
bullet
with a time travel gun. Then yeah, we can do anything in comics. And
right. I still love that, like, that happened almost at the same time that Batman had the same thing happen. It's like, are we just doing time travel? Everyone just has fucking time travel lasers now? All right.
I need to look back. I did at one point see because like there was a lot going on. That you had within a similar amount of time, you had the return of Jason Todd as Red Hood, as well as the return of Bucky Barnes as Winter Soldier.
Yep.
And yeah,
I think I think like Jason Todd came back before Bucky Barnes did, though.
Yeah, true. But like, there's a very similar kind of thing going on there.
And I don't think it's unfair to say that Captain America is the Batman of Marvel.
In a lot of ways he is, in a lot of ways he isn't. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's him or Black Panther, because I think Black Panther also has a lot of Batman in him.
It would be Spanish novella levels. What the
fuck? It would be Spanish. You're correct.
Comics are weird.
Comics are weird. And that's as Lucifer says, and that's okay.
That's great, yeah.
That's why we love them.
All right. And then I just want you to realize the fucking the speed with which this happens. So there's the resolution of all this. Boom.
It's one page. We get a one-page wrap up.
Yep. He says, North Pole, the greenhouse. Sage shut down the Sentinel, and it's now collecting rust at the bottom of the ocean. One beast got atomized, and the other moved in with Wonder Man. Wow. I hope they're happy together.
Roommates. Sorry, I just had to, quotes.
Quentin mind wiped the Orcus agent, and she lost the last few weeks of her memories, including us. So even though the future is far from uncertain for now, we do what we've always done. We keep evolving, keep surviving. X-Force aren't the ones you root for. We are the ones, but we get the dirty jobs done. X.
Nice.
Like, I mean, I guess there wasn't much else to wrap up, because it's not like you're following the X-Force book for the characters to have there much happen. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. I will say, in comparison to like the Remember X-Force, and even like who else was writing some X-Force? I don't know. X-Force is it's been a solid title, but
I would like the X-Force books that came out after the Remender run were pretty weak, though.
Yeah, sure.
I remember those being like, because Remender went on to write Uncanny Avengers, and that's kind of where the talent went. It felt like it's just like, oh, we're doing that now, huh? All right.
Well, I mean, I guess I am starting to be ready to be done with Krakoa.
Yeah,
I'll say that. Like, this is, I think, maybe the book where it happened too, because I was like, okay, this story has been restrained by Krakoa, basically. Like they
Right.
could have been doing other things. They could have been doing all kinds of crazy shit, but like, no, we got to do Krakoa shit. We got to finish off the Krakoa shit, and so yeah, I get it.
Well, and also of the ongoing titles, this is the one that had nothing to do with Fallen House of the Powers, or
Except that they're in a specific location that I think they were.
They're in at the beginning of it. Like
Yeah.
it's just that, but it doesn't really advance that story at all, right? Like it's part
Right.
of that era, but it takes place well before it, because even by the start of Fall of the Powers of X, like Sabretooth War is over.
In a way, it's kind of, when you think about it, in terms of character, this book has kind of cheated a bit, because this was actually the book where it was revealed that Colossus had been mind controlled by his brother, and like that actually did play a significant role in the Orcus hitting the Hellfire Gala.
Yeah.
And so like, even though that's actually a pretty big connection.
Yeah, it's definitely it's had big connections, but it kind of stops there. Like,
yeah, and I'm just saying that like they kind of just they kind of hand waved that whole thing, like, oh, he's feels bad about it, sure, but like we're moving on, you know.
We just got to keep trucking.
Are we gonna deal with him and his guilt over murdering his girlfriend or whatever? Like,
almost certainly not.
That sucks.
I agree. That's pretty shit tier.
Like, I mean, I understand that maybe they need to be, like, look, we don't have time to grieve over your mind-controlled girlfriend being murdered, or you being murdered. Sorry,
because you were mind-controlled,
murdering your girlfriend. We have to deal with this Orcus shit. Like, okay, that's fine. But like, when it's over, we gotta deal with that. I think you got to.
I wish. I don't think it's gonna happen though. I think
probably not.
The nature of wrapping up the story is that, like, once it's done, it's done. Like, I don't think there will be any going back to tie up loose ends, especially like
there is actually, because that's what X-Men what is it, X-Men Forever is going to be.
Oh, okay.
So, but it's only going to be specific, it seems like, based on this list. I don't know what, if Kieran Gillen has like dirt on the editors and executives at Marvel or something. I don't know why Kieran Gillen is getting an extension, and it's like,
I mean, like,
it's weird.
Because he was already the guy who did God damn it, Sins of Sinister.
Yeah, he did Sins of Sinister mostly,
and Judgment Day.
Yeah, which is actually very good. I thought it was very good. So
I was kind of mid on Judgment Day, but
what?
Yeah, we've talked about this. It's fine. Speaking of fine, I saw the new Ghostbusters with a couple of buddies yesterday, and it was also fine.
It's pretty mid.
It's a movie. It began.
You didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was fine.
Okay. Well, imagine that. See, there's not much to talk about there, right?
Yeah,
that's why content doesn't get made about that.
Well,
now, tell me how woke it was, and why that was bad.
It was a little woke, because they definitely hint that this ghost and this girl are lesbians at each other, but like, it was a little woke. But also, one of them was mean and secretly evil until she wasn't.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
It's more fun on the second go, Morgan, says Greg.
Oh, is it? Okay. It might be. I actually haven't seen the last one. I didn't know who any of these characters were. I'm just like, it starts with this family in the car, and I'm like, okay, we're just doing Ghostbuster shit with this family now. All right, whatevs.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you figured out their relation by the end of the movie, right? Like,
I mean, yeah, it lets you know, like, after the opening scene, that they're like, what's his face's family after he died. My brain is not cooperating on this, but yeah, like,
is there a new What If or something? Why are we talking about What If? What's going on there?
I don't know why What If came up, but the Cop Nebula one was interesting. That's about as far as I've gotten into season 2 of What If. But
that's the one I was thinking that Lucifer must be talking about. That's a pretty good episode.
That's a pretty good episode.
In general, I do like the specific situations that they've created in season 2.
Yeah, I only got through the first episode, but
The Christmas, the Die Hard episode is pretty good. It's got Justin Hammer and yeah, basically breaks into like an idiot, breaks into the Avengers Tower. Like, why would you do that, Justin
Because
Hammer?
you're Justin Hammer.
Oh, Rick.
Oh, I get it.
Funny.
Yeah,
Wait,
Kieran versus. Yeah, I get it. Ha!
you
All
know
right.
we were saying Kieran Gillen, right?
Yeah. All right. Ha ha. All right. Well done. Well
you
done,
got us.
Lucifer. You got him. All right.
Got them both.
Yeah, we've been had.
Anyways,
Speaking of being had.
yeah, well, I mean, I wanted to also touch on look, Chad Hammer's here, okay?
Chad Hammer.
Chad Hammer is in the house.
Thor brought to you by Roxxon.
Thor Roxxon presents. It's here. We talked about it whenever it was announced, and it's a really good issue of Thor. I mean, like, it starts with Thor just bursting into the Roxxon fucking headquarters and just like smashing up old Minotaur's desk and shit. He's like, "Fuck you, dude. You're bullshit. What you're doing around here with your corporate greed and shit." You know? And that just doesn't go well for Thor from there, because there's been a plan in play. Oh, don't threaten me with a good time.
I appreciate that the head of an oil company is this actual demon.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he was a guy at one point. What's Dario Agger's? I don't even know his origin.
I have no idea, but he's definitely a demon now, and like, so is every other oil executive. True.
Yeah, I mean, why do you got a current fucking deist, Marvel, Roxxon Comics? Yeah, and then he takes him into this little idyllic town here, and basically he lets him know at some point here that there's Scourge. He shows up.
Yeah,
you got to watch out for Scourge. He's gonna axe you in the back.
Yeah, he's got to ask you a question.
Okay, so here it's this. I'll type it into chat here.
Well, now you can't. Not only are they mad about adjective or about pronouns, they're also mad at adjectives now. You can't say
pronouns. We got pronouns now.
I guess, yeah. People are probably into that. Well, they banned adjectives on Twitter. You can't use adjectives.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wait, what are you talking about? Is that a joke or what?
No, they Twitter will lock you down if you mention cis or cisgender, because they don't like adjectives. It's too woke to use adjectives.
Oh, that fucking adjectives and pronouns and like, wow. But also absolute free speech. Am I right?
Right. Yeah. It's they if you want to call people actual slurs, you can do that to your heart's content. But if you use an adjective, you're DEI or whatever it is this week.
Oh, Enchantress. Who would have seen this coming, except she's on the cover. So
she's literally on the cover.
Fucking predicates, yeah. Fucking present participle. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
What really gets me is adverbs. You know what? Why aren't we offended by adverbs? These things are fucking sneaky.
Me too. It's really bad.
Yeah, it's certainly Blue Sky is great. It's a mess, but
back in over there. I don't use it.
I'm over on Blue Sky.
You know what's sad is I think that maybe I forget to use it because it doesn't get my blood boiling.
That's part the part of it is that like Blue Sky's a lot of fun, but if I want to like figure out what's going on in the moron sphere for this show, I have to like go back into Twitter.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, you don't have to.
No, but I feel like I am uninformed if I don't.
That's how they got you. That's how they get you. That's why Jay is a smart guy and deactivating his Twitter account.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
So
yeah, we're back into mine now.
Clearly, nobody cares about this. That's fine. But look, it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be really fun and stupid. And I think it's actually a writer making a point. I think.
I hope
Let's
so.
see.
About just like how corporations fucking
Like,
rocks.
Chad Hammer shows up. He's here. The land of lost content. And they definitely leans into the reading of that being content or content here. At one point, he's like, he asked Thor, he's like, "Are you content or are you content?" And it's like,
Woof.
I mean, it's
wow.
fun. It's fun. Now I can control the machine. It brings me profit, brings me power, makes the number go up.
Line go up.
Well, he actually does give a pretty funny little thing here. Says, where's it say? Sorry. He's, okay, so he says that's the sales pitch anyway for the $1 billion suckers. I'll be on some other world, starting over in my image. And he says, a much more sensible dream. Do you know why, Agar? After all this time, do you know why you kill your own planet for coin? What caused this black winter in your heart? And he says, oh, I could make a speech, I suppose. Some rocks tube ready blather. Sorry, I'm reading this on my smaller monitor, and I didn't realize how small it is.
It's a little text heavy.
There you go. Pop fascism for the rubes and for the tech bros.
Oh my God. It is not subtle. I love it.
No, I could blame my tragic childhood or the lust for blood and cruelty that never abates, or revenge, of course. You'd believe revenge. But the truth, Thor, absolute and unvarnished. I like it when the number goes up. That's all. Because that means I win. It means I'm better. That's all there is.
Yep.
I mean, it's a comic book, so it's a little bit heavy-handed by nature. It should be, I think.
Yeah, like he's a comic book villain, and the problem is in real life, like our actual real life villains are fucking as fucking dumb as the fucking comic book villains.
I mean, like he has to say it like that in like hopes of like Al Ewing is not a stupid guy.
No, he's not.
He's writing heavy-handed on purpose because he's like, yeah, trying to get it through us.
If you don't do this, they'll think that like it's an endorsement of these kind of, ghouls.
Right. Yeah, you kind of have to, I guess.
Because like that's every time there's a game now that has like a mild parody, they're like, oh, it's talking about how great we are. It's like, no, it's making fun of you.
Anyway, I'm interested to see how that plays out for sure, because
yeah.
I just like I liked what he did with Immortal Hulk. There was definitely some similar area covered with, like, once the Hulk kind of got his shit together about halfway through the run, Hulk and Banner, and they kind of like merged up a little bit, became focused. They were like, all right, let's solve the problems of the world, right? Like, we have all this power. We have brain, we have strength. What do we do? Well, we deal with the problems. And what are the problems? Oh, it's Roxxon. It's
Roxxon.
Corporations.
It's Roxxon. Yeah. And the Hulk can deal with it a lot of ways, right? Because like Bruce can science his way through that, and Hulk, Hulk can smash. And you need a little of both.
Yeah. Wolverine got depowered. I don't know how much I guess that's just leading up to him having the dang armor, right?
I don't know.
I've seen an advertisement for it. He's going to have some adamantium armor.
Oh, interesting.
Because he doesn't have any powers now. Apparently, he got depowered by Forge's depower gun.
See, I saw that, but then like this is where the timeline doesn't make sense, because like in Fall of X, Fall of House of X, he has his powers still.
So that's what at the very least, it takes the suspense out of him losing his powers. But then if you think about it more, it's like, well, when did all this happen? It starts to feel like mid-2000s Wolverine, where it was like, okay, he can't be in all these places at once.
Right.
And like, I was willing to give that a little leeway in the Krakoan era because of the gates. You know, like, okay, the gateways make it to where he can be anywhere he wants to be pretty quick. But whenever you're literally doing something as dramatic as taking his powers away,
I guess I'd have to go back and read like at the mainline X-Men and Fall of the House of X and go back and see if anyone actually calls him Logan. Because maybe that Wolverine isn't Logan.
What?
Maybe it's Dokken or someone.
No, I think it.
I think it looks like Logan, but I'm just like, this doesn't make sense. Take it easy, Dragon.
Later, Fire Dragon. So the coolest moment. All right, so this is it. The coolest moment of the week. The bub moment. Big bub moment. Big damn bub. Is in X-Men number 33, where continued assault and fighting with the Orcus.
Mm-hmm. This is where we get a new team of X-Men that we saw earlier in X-Men, but this is where they debut fighting the bad guys, I believe.
Yeah.
There's fucking Steve.
Fucking Stevel here. And then he's like, you got these Orcus guys. This is a waste of time. No, this is a trap. I think that's my line, bub. I love the smile on his face. He's so
just like the light shining up on him and in that pose makes me think of Batman.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a very ninja thing to do.
It is a very ninja thing to do.
And then there's just like a full 2 pages of just Wolverining.
Chopping up some fascists.
Hand is just flying off. Like, oh, there's a head. That's gone now. Your head's gone.
Well, he wasn't using that head anyways.
They can face the Wolverine. Glad we are in these dark days for his talents. Yep.
Bob.
Doing what he does. And then you got some fucking Reavers. Ugh.
Fucking Reavers.
And I guess you got Shadowcats coming to face them down. We get a full page or 2 of her just slicing up Reavers.
Speaking of ninja shit.
Love it. Boo. Saving Callisto. Even Callisto gets a stab in the face. Boom.
Give him a chop.
Fun stuff. Fun times. And then I was a bit surprised by this. Pleasantly surprised. Shinobi Shaw actually does the right thing.
Shaw does the right thing.
His dad's expecting him to do the wrong thing like he's doing, because like he always does.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like when Sebastian Shaw does the right thing, it's only because it benefits him in some way.
I just appreciate that we all know what the expletive is there.
Shinobi fucking Shaw. About to be blinder than me. I like the
let's her phase through him. That's pretty good.
It's kind of a rude way to do that, but okay. But then where it gets really awesome, because you go to here where in Madripoor on the port here, and turns out pretty much that the last guy, right? Like he's the last guy on Orcus.
He's the last human.
It really is a cool name. Shinobi Shaw. I've always thought that.
Yeah.
And that's probably comes partially because like I wondered whenever I first heard of him and back in the old 92 cards, whenever I was like, oh, is that like Shinobi, like that video game, the ninja? Unrelated, but still just a cool name.
Still a cool name.
Well, Dr. Devo, who, he's barely even a dude anymore, apparently.
He's mostly non-dude. But
Omega Sentinel has been just like taking bits of his brain out, I guess. And
yeah.
And he's got some kind of device here. He's got some kind of thing. And he's gonna whip it good.
I knew you were gonna do that.
I'm sorry. How do I not? How do you not?
I don't know how you don't. I'm surprised more people don't make that joke. I don't because I'm classy.
Dr. Devo's gonna whip it.
It's a great panel.
Yeah, it really is. And the X-Men are kind of fucked right here because they were not expecting him to be anticipating them, really. Or no, I guess he would have, but they didn't expect him to have the device he has. I don't
right.
Think.
Like, I think if you're working with fucking Shaw, like, you know you're about to get sold out, right? Because, like, dude will sell you out for a fucking cupcake.
Yep, and he's one of those cone hats. I agree. Yes, he did, and it's fucking excellent. Sometimes I listen to that soundtrack just because it's like weird and fun and cool.
It's a great soundtrack. Ragnarok was such a fucking good movie.
Yeah,
easily the best Thor movie. Not in contention.
Give me 1 minute if you want to continue talking about this, Morgan. I gotta take a pause.
Oh, all right, you go ahead and take a pause. So yeah, there he is. That's, he's about to get fucking X-Men at. And if I could control the panels, I would show you more. Oh, well, shit. Dane can still hear me. He's just doing other stuff. So, and here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is more bullshit. Because he's going to suck them into the fucking negative zone like a real asshole. That's been interesting that he refers to Reed Richards as a mutate, because, like, that's always like the rest of the powered people in Marvel who have weird powers aren't mutants, they're mutates, because we need to differentiate somehow, because otherwise the bit doesn't work. Once again, Sync just having all of the powers, he's fucking X-Men Kirby. But he no longer has a human mind. Wow, I did not realize he was that cybernetic now. But someone's going to show up soon. If you want to keep it going, or if you can keep it going. If you cannot, press 1 now. But yeah, unfortunately with my work schedule this week, I only had time to read one comic, and it was Deadpool. Deadpool was very good. God's X-Men 97. I fucking love it. It's amazing. The only thing with the last episode I didn't like is I definitely felt like the first half because they sort of split the episode into 2 mini episodes, and I think the first half felt like a good mini episode. It didn't need to be the full thing. But the back half, I'm like, I need more of this story with Forge and Storm. All right. Yeah, she's making a phone. She's going to make a phone call. And I presume via telepathy. Uh-oh. It's Doomin' time.
I'm assuming this is regarding the X-Men's incompetent attempt to destroy Orcus and return to Earth.
I don't think.
It's got to insult them,
Yep. I appreciate that New Mutants is capped in the like. It's not like we need New Mutants, we need the New Mutants, and Emma kind of hanging the lampshade on that one. Just like, I don't think anyone's calling them that, darling.
Yeah. Let me show you the predicament we're in.
Hey, Doom in Time isn't original. I definitely didn't steal that from the Fantastic Four. And that incompetent Richards!
Did Richards come up with Doom in Time?
No, obviously not, because Richards is an incompetent buffoon who lacks the wit.
Wait. Greg, you must not be caught up yet. If you think that's his view on mutants.
Oh, no, Doom.
So, yeah, back a few issues ago, the X-Men had to do a little incursion into Latveria, and they faced off with some mutants, a team of mutants that Doom had put together basically when Krakoa was founded.
Yep.
He was like, oh, Charles Xavier's fucking sending out this message in everybody's brain. So that's telling me I need to get some mutants ready because I'm Doom. I ain't gonna be caught unawares.
Well, especially because Dr. Doom is smart enough to know, like, oh, Charles is doing some big play. Well, this is gonna blow up in everyone's faces, so I should be prepared.
Yeah.
I appreciate the sheer fucking hubris of Doom to call his team the X-Men. I
The
fucking
X-Men
love it.
of Doom. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Fucking amazing. Like,
You're a few years away.
yeah. Well, I mean, but it actually goes back in time to show that he pretty much immediately on the founding of Krakoa started his training his team.
Yeah, there's a bit of a flashback.
And yeah, so here comes X-Men of Doom, which really isn't the best name for them because a couple of them seem like real sweethearts.
They seem like very nice people.
Slag, Volta, and Nerium. Go and show them what it means to be the tip of Latvia's spear.
Nice, cool magic spear. He got whipped it good. He's fucking extra crispy.
Yeah, Devo's gone. He is dead.
His record contract was canceled.
Fucking Slag just like what it just knocks all that shit off into the ocean, whatever's going on there. Nerium seems kind of cool. I like to see more from her. I'd like to see more from Volta too. I mean, really, these are the three that I think are the ones I'd be most interested in.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's such an awesome panel.
He's a nice guy, apparently.
He's a swell. He's a big softy.
Well, he didn't like warn her that his hand was gonna like melt her flesh, though. So maybe they could have done that.
Well, he's a big guy. He doesn't know his own strength.
Anyway, and this is fun. This can't be the end. Orcas must survive. I must survive. Well, you simply didn't. And then this is my favorite line in the whole thing here. Me and a few mutants once pulled the original X-Men out of a fire on Krakoa. Save your breath, Wolverine. I have no interest in joining the X-Men. And then, yeah, all the best. That's what all the best things. Love it. I love a fucking goofy ass smile from Wolverine, man.
Just the fucking dumbest Wolverine smile I have ever seen, but I'm here for it.
I don't know. There's one in Judgment Day that's like, oh god damn it.
Look, I Judgment Day is fine.
Whenever he's like, he's comforting Jean Grey, and she's like, you're so good to me, Logan, and he's like, Red, no, I ain't good for nobody. Oh, but he's like, big grin.
He's a big softy. He's just a big floof.
All right, so we are done with that. We are moving on to
the real topic.
Bye. Have a good night.
Yeah, bye. We don't want to talk about this.
This is the only thing we have to talk about now.
We got to talk about some bad people doing bad things for bad reasons.
And you should thank Morgan, because I was just going to wing it. And then I said, should I use a timeline? Morgan was like, use a timeline. So, okay.
People like timelines. Okay, I like timelines.
They're good. They're fun. I mean, this one's not going to be super fun, but like, yeah. Okay. So, literally got a freaking timeline here. Kind of interactive type of deal. Beep. Is it really? Okay. Yeah, I guess that's about as. Really, though? Huh. Let me make sure that this is the best one I can find, because I don't think it is. Yes.
Well, like we talked about last week with Trans Day Visibility and some other real world fuckery going on. Before all of that, we have what's his nuts? Comstock.
Yeah. Yeah, to catch us up on that.
So Comstock, to refresh people's memories, was a U.S. Army veteran who got himself appointed the unpaid postal inspector in charge of keeping smut, or whatever he defined as smut, out of the mail. And this law was passed by Congress, or a series of laws. They're known today as the Comstock Acts. And while over the years the courts have whittled them away because, like, come on, man, there's, free speech, and like, that's a science textbook, you asshole. Like, that's not fucking pornography. It's a fucking science textbook. But now Sam Alito, as far as the high court, Sam Alito and Clarence Thomas have mentioned, like, maybe we should like undo all of the court decisions that made that go away. Because that's normally how old laws go away in America, if you don't know, is often an old law is still on the books, but is gutted by a court decision where it's like, it doesn't work that way, or that law is unconstitutional, or what have you. So all those laws are still on the books. This is how, like, when Roe v. Wade was overturned, a lot of states already had abortion laws in place that just came back into play once Roe v. Wade was undone.
Yeah, states' rights and all.
The states'
have a good night,
Luther.
And I'm sorry, easy. Greg, to give you whiplash like that.
Yeah, sorry, Greg. Please forgive us. Don't worry.
Okay, so
yeah, go ahead.
Well, you can go continue on. I'm going to actually take a moment to take my medication.
Oh,
and then I've got this timeline. What we're going to do, this is going to be the more organized than I expected it to be. We're going to do a quick overview of the timeline and just like here's this and this and this. That'll take just a couple minutes, and then we're going to get into the timeline itself, which I imagine will bleed into the end of the episode and then next week and stuff. So, but actually, we're going to have to stop sooner than that to kind of get into set up 2025 a bit.
Yeah. So I can go into that a little bit while you're...
Okay, yeah.
So Project 2025 is a document published by the Heritage Foundation last year, and it goes into it's the latest version of their, I believe they call it the Proposal for Leadership, which is a thing they put out every presidential cycle outlining what they want the conservative movement to do in this country. And over the last several decades, well, on and off, it's a blueprint for how the GOP pushes their bullshit. And this year's version is just fucking fascism. Like, but not only is it fascism, because here is the thing that I think in reading it and reading through it that I think gets missed a lot is the fascism and this culture war stuff is just a sleight of hand. Because once they do all of their eliminating civil rights, persecuting minorities, and removing regulations, this is just to let rich people just fucking get richer and take government money and fuck us all in the ass, those of us who are still alive. So yeah, real fucking bullshit. And a lot of it is the main premise of it, the main method of execution is something called Schedule F, which Trump put in towards the end of his presidency. Biden got rid of it, and now he is putting in new regulations at the executive level to be like, you have to take extra steps to change how federal employees are treated and graded and paid, and whether they're permanent or political appointees. Basically, what Schedule F does is it makes most federal employees political appointees. And so you can fire everyone at will, and you can just kind of put whoever you want in. And the Heritage Foundation and groups working with them have basically been taking resumes that you can submit online to apply to work in the federal government as a bureaucrat, effectively, to execute this plan under Trump. And it is fucking miserable. I wasn't planned to get into all of the specific details today. But it's a laundry list of everything conservatives have been culture warring for since 2008.
Yeah. And I apologize that there's been something that has come up family-wise, just that I'm needing to attend to.
Oh, it happens.
But we're not going to end the stream or anything. I just need another few minutes, and I know that you were not prepared, so I'm going to pull up a video clip or something while.
Well, I can wing it too. It's fine.
You gonna vamp? You can vamp it.
All right. Because I can go back to the beginning. Well, towards another figure of the beginning of this. So go ahead and take care of your stuff, and I will take it from here.
All right.
But so, what 2008? So 2008. The reason I go 2008 is because that is when the conservative movement in America lost its direction. Because after 2000, well, rather after 9/11 in 2001, they had a good 7 years of like, this is how we are going to get our policy goals enacted, because they had this war on terrorism and they could really apply pressure that not supporting them was unpatriotic. But then, Bush Jr.'s 2 terms were up. My Latin is not that good, Super Hyrulean, so I would have to look that up.
Say it in English.
Yeah. You're not a Final Fantasy villain. Put it in English. Like, I can look it up later. I know how to translate Latin, but I'm not fluent. So, anywho. So, 2008. But then this thing happened in 2008. This little financial oopsie-doopsie. And one of the things that the Republicans succeeded at doing immensely in the wake of Obama's election and the Great Recession is blaming Obama for it. And Obama wasn't president when it happened. He was the junior senator from Illinois. He's kind of a nobody, really. And his president goes on to show that he was kind of not up to the task, but that's neither.
Have you considered, though, that he was a black guy, though? And somehow that is relevant to some people.
Somehow, yeah, I don't know why. He just
all right.
Yeah.
Continue.
All right. So, but to go back further than that, the origins of the modern conservative movement begins with a man who grew to hate the modern conservative movement, and that is one Barry Goldwater, who was a senator from Arizona in the 60s and 70s, and then into the 80s. And he is what we would think of today as like the arch conservative. He is a war hawk, though unlike a lot of our modern war hawks, he actually served and stayed a reservist like well into his like later life. Very pro segregation, pro religion for a while. That kind of changes over his life, but he is a major, he is everything you'd think of as a Republican today when he was in office in the 60s. And he also caused the conservative movement to fucking implode. When he ran for president against Lyndon Johnson. Oh, okay. I'm not sure what that has to do with anything. Whose piece? But you're just going off. You go be a Final Fantasy villain, buddy. Let me know if you have anything to add to what we're talking about and not, your villain monologue. So now I lost my train of thought. He ran against Lyndon Johnson in 1964 and lost. He got his ass kicked It is one of the biggest schlackings a presidential candidate has ever taken as far as electoral results. Let me pull up the actual electoral results.
Well, wasn't he wasn't he really awesome though? Because I remember I've heard the phrase Goldwater rules, right?
Yeah, well, see, it's funny about Goldwater. So yeah,
no, it's Goldwater rule. That's what I'm thinking of.
The Goldwater rule, yeah. So that is another thing where like the Goldwater rule is you don't, if you're a journalist or a medical professional, you do not speculate publicly about the mental condition or health of a person running for president.
But like, what's funny about that to me is that like, so the Goldwater rule is a thing that's just like generally don't break the Goldwater rule. But if somebody's mentioning the Goldwater rule, isn't that kind of just implying it anyway? Like,
kinda, yeah.
Like, yeah. Don't break the Goldwater rule with fucking Donald Trump, okay? It's like,
well, if someone feels the need to, all right. So yeah, he won 5 states. He won the deep South minus Florida, so Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Georgia, and South Carolina, along with his home state of Arizona. And this was presumed that they would that liberalism was going to become the way of America going forward. And that conservatives needed a new plan.
It's a bit like what's going on now.
We absolutely need to focus on the election. I'm sorry, you're entitled to be wrong, but we do.
It means we don't need to focus on the election. I mean, if you don't want to focus on what this channel's focusing on, you can go somewhere else, man. But I won't tolerate you showing up here to tell us that we should be doing something different than the plan that we have. Okay, that we've been planning for weeks, and the fact that you think we shouldn't be focusing on the election is either means that you, I guess, or just you feel you're unaffected, or you don't care what happens to other people, and yeah.
So here is why I am focused on the election. Because in my state, the villainous state of Wisconsin, we have a governor by the name of Tony Evers. And this year he has vetoed several anti-trans healthcare bills that would strip my healthcare away and the healthcare of people like me away and segregate trans kids from their peers in schools.
How is Morgan supposed to have peace if that happens?
Where is my peace if I don't focus on the election?
You just mean quiet. You mean not having to think about other people and any kind of drama in somebody else's life. That's what you mean by peace.
Here's another one. My mother-in-law is disabled. She has Social Security disability insurance. The Republicans are already talking about, and have been talking about since like 2022, about gutting Social Security and privatizing Social Security.
Yeah,
that would go away. My mother-in-law was a nurse and a single mother and worked her ass off to raise my spouse. And the Republicans want that to go away on a federal level.
Yep.
To take care of my family, the people I live with and love, I have to focus on the election.
So
this shit matters
very,
at home.
Very thankful. And while you're enjoying the clips, which is cool. Like clips,
have fun enjoying the clips. Yeah,
they happen a couple of times a year. They're kind of expected. Elections, they happen. They're expected too. But like what's happening this election is not normal. Yeah.
Here's the thing. It is normal, and it has been normal in some ways since Ronald Reagan.
Kinda, but kind of the implications of this one are kind of far greater than anything I think we've had before.
Well, because the only reason this one matters is because we continue to lose ground. And the last 4 years is the closest to regaining ground we've had since Jimmy Carter was president.
And we keep losing ground because I'm going to go ahead and steer us into the topic now.
Yeah, go ahead.
We keep losing ground because of honestly, thoughts like this, just like empty platitudes about like, oh, we shouldn't. We, okay, yeah, no, we don't misunderstand. You're miscommunicating, and we're done reading your comments now because of that. So for empty platitudes, this idea that like, oh, all these fallacies that get thrown around about like both sides, and oh, that's just my political opinion, and we shouldn't discuss politics for some reason. You know what I mean? Or we don't need
Yeah.
to talk about the election when the fact is there are people who are always focused on the election.
Yeah.
When they say they're talking about something else or they're worried about something else, they're really thinking about elections. And those are generally politicians of all kinds, but really the most dedicated to making things go their way in the least democratic way possible are the people on the right.
Yeah. Well, the right hates democracy, and they also hate veterans, which Liz Bobby mentions. That Republicans love to vote against veteran benefits and vote to cut VA services and
Yes.
not raise the pay of our troops. So for the support our troops people, they love fucking leaving our troops poor and destitute. And while the military industrial complex is a fucking problem in this country and one responsible for some of the stuff we're talking about today,
Well, so
the people
thing
who
is,
serve are victims of that system.
it's really easy to think that that politics are, if you haven't dug into them, and I understand, like I was there at one point too, like, God, it's so confusing, it seems so stupid and arbitrary, blah blah, all those types of thoughts. Like, it does matter, and it's not as hard to kind of break down as it's made out online, by certain figures who want to make it that seem that way. So what we're going to do now is talk about a timeline of a specific branch of politics. So this timeline of modern American conservatism lists the important events, developments, and occurrences which have significantly affected conservatism in the United States. With the decline of the conservative wing of the Democratic Party after 1960, the movement is most closely associated with the Republican Party, the GOP. Economic conservatives favor less government regulation, lower taxes, and weaker labor unions, while social conservatives focus on moral issues and neoconservatives focus on democracy worldwide. Spreading democracy with drones and stuff. But
Dronemocracy.
so based on those three descriptions of different types of conservatives, what is MAGA?
MAGA is a nostalgic reaction to a mythologized point in American history wherein black people couldn't be president.
Yeah. Yep. MAGA is kind of like all of that and none of it at the same time. It's weird. MAGA is just the ultimate reactionary kind of party cancer in a way.
It is an empty vessel of revenge.
Yeah, that's definitely what it is, and that's what Trump is at this point too. Like, when we say, and those of you who are going to be arguing this election season online or with your family or whoever, and you're going to be trying to argue against Trump, try not to focus on Trump that much. Honestly, Trump isn't really the concern. It's Project 2025. It's that Trump would be the placeholder for somebody that probably is more competent to get into office.
Well, and Trump is, neither of them are young men.
True. All right, so conservatives generally distrust the United Nations and Europe, and apart from the libertarian wing, favor a strong military and give enthusiastic support to Israel. That's true. Although conservatism has much older roots in American history, the modern movement began to gel in the mid-1930s when the intellectuals and politicians collaborated with businessmen to oppose the liberalism of the New Deal, led by Franklin D. Roosevelt, newly energized labor unions, and big city Democrat machines. So what we're talking about here, the word that it comes to be known by is think tanks, policy, kind of homunculuses that form.
Basically, it is bribing academics to say what you want.
Well, so yeah, and here's where I'm going to be cribbing from Behind the Bastards. Is like the first generation of kind of think tanks were not like, they were actually neutral. They were coming at it from like, oh, this party, this political party is paying us to give them information so they can make some kind of decision about whatever, and they would actually give them as neutral, objective information as they
They
possibly
would
could.
give them the information, and then the political institutions were like, wait, no, and the businesses, especially once they get involved, are like, no.
Yeah.
We're gonna pay you to say this,
Yeah,
and then
like
you're going to say it.
once you were paying someone to do things for a long enough period of time, eventually they're going to go, oh wait, if I want to make sure that I get paid from this person, I got to
Right.
make sure I give them what they want. So it becomes more like, Burger King, have it your way,
Well, and even before listening to those shows, my perception was that it's because they're charitable donations, right? All of these think tanks are 501c3s. It is a great, if you're an asshole, if you're a real son of a bitch, you can pay someone to say that it is good for America to lower your taxes, and you can write paying them off of your taxes.
Yeah, it's weird. Huh. Well, so yeah, you had a lot of left-wing progress, and at the same time, you kind of had a lot of right-wing groundwork being laid, right? The
Well,
theory
and
already existed for the left at this point.
yeah, well, and
The
also I think that when we're talking about the right wing in America, like American liberalism and American conservatism were both highly, vigorously, and violently anti-leftist.
Yeah, true. Any kind of left progress that happens in this country is after it's been fought for, and leftists have died for it for probably decades. By the time any movement happens, and the actual the establishment takes it up and makes it their own thing and waters it down, and then you get Obamacare, or whatever. But that was actually thought up by.
Well, what's funny is you mentioned Obamacare. Do you know who wrote the model legislation that became Obamacare?
Romney, right?
Well, it was the Heritage Foundation wrote it for Romney.
Right. Which we're going to be talking about them.
Well, they wrote Project 2025. So that's, you want to talk about how far the right has moved in this country.
They're kind of Orcus in a way.
Oh, we've talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Did we specifically say Heritage Foundation?
I don't know that we specifically talked about them, but just the right wing sort of money, moneyed interests and their think tanks.
That's true. Reggie. Yeah, Battle of Blair Mountain was one I learned about just a couple of years ago after I started YouTube. I didn't know about that shit.
Which one is that?
That was I believe the leftists that got bombed. Is that right?
Okay, that's that one. The Union agitators who got bombed. Okay.
Because I made the mistake in my Watchmen video of saying that the Black Wall Street was the only incident, because as far as I knew it was, because it's not like they teach you this stuff in history.
No, they don't. Yeah.
Was
that
the only
would be woke to teach you about
American on American like aerial assault, right in that way. And like somebody was like, no, you got to learn about Blair Mountain. I was like, oh shit. Anyway, we'll get there one day. So then after World War II, this is when things, believe it or not, that war had pretty dramatic effect on the world.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
In particular, the U.S. After World War II, the coalition that was talking about there, the think tanks, the intellectuals and politicians, right, and businessmen, they gained strength from new philosophers and writers who developed an intellectual rationale for conservatism. I would take issue with saying that it's a rationale, I guess, that it makes sense or anything, but whatever.
I mean, it's a rationale. I don't know that it's,
Yeah, it's true. A rationale doesn't have to be flawless.
Right.
Richard Nixon's victory in the 1968 presidential election is often considered a realigning election in American politics. From 1932 to 1968, the Democratic Party was the majority party, as during that time period, the Democrats had won 7 out of 9 presidential elections, and their agenda gravely affected that undertaken by the Republican Dwight D. Eisenhower administration. But the election of 1968 reversed the situation completely. The Vietnam War split the Democratic Party. And so going back to something that good old Bob Evans said that I wanted to make sure to say. So, like, the U.S. had half of the world's money after World War II.
Yeah.
Just half of the money on planet fucking Earth, the U.S. had it. And then there was there was no, like, talking about budgets and financing stuff. That was a dead issue.
Right.
We didn't have those debates in government. It just didn't. Nobody cared. We had so much fucking money. It was pouring out of our assholes.
Well, and not only that, and part of the reason was that everybody owed us money.
Yeah.
Is that not only did we fight in World War II, but before we started fighting, before we joined, we had several programs to give war material to the Russians, to the French, to the United Kingdom, to the Chinese. And so a lot of those programs came with a bill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I guess in a capitalist society or whatever. But nonetheless, we were riding pretty high for a good couple of decades there. And by we, I mean, straight, cis, hetero, white men. And then I guess if their wives, if they were lucky and they got a husband that didn't beat them on a regular basis or whatever. Other than that, it was still pretty shitty for everybody.
Well, just think that, like, even Eisenhower, who I think gets a lot of credit as the last good Republican, signed the VA bill, I believe. Let me check. I want to make sure I'm right on this because I'm about to say some mean things. The GI bill. I'm sorry.
Well, we will get there in the timeline. This is kind of still the overview.
Oh, it was actually Roosevelt. Shut the fuck up. Roosevelt. Motherfucking Roosevelt did this. So this is how racist America was. The most left-wing president in American history signed the GI Bill, which excluded those benefits to African-American service people.
Yeah, and, it was only their kids that suffered. They didn't get to do the heroin, but they didn't have to suffer for long because they're just a few years away from being drafted into a fucking stupid war.
A couple of stupid wars.
Yeah, Korea. Yeah. Yeah, but tell that to people who don't understand what systemic inequity is. Right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying, is that even Roosevelt's GI Bill only went to white veterans.
So, let's see. The Vietnam War split the Democratic Party. White ethnics in the North and white Southerners felt the National Democratic Party had deserted them. The white South has voted Republican at the presidential level since the 1950s and at the state and local level since the 1990s.
Yep.
We'll get there eventually, too. In the 1980s, President Ronald Reagan rejuvenated the conservative Republican ideology with tax cuts, greatly increased defense spending, deregulation, a policy of rolling back communism, whatever the fuck that means, a great strengthened military, and appeals to family values and conservative Judeo-Christian morality. His impact has led historians to call the 1980s the Reagan era. I mean, even if he didn't have an impact, you would call it that because he was just president, right?
I don't think anyone refers to the early 2000s as the Bush era. I hear the Bush era tax cuts. That's not entirely true.
I guess I'd say post 9/11 before I'd say Bush.
Yeah, era. I think most people refer to that as post 9/11 because I don't think Bush really got anything done before 9/11.
So, imagine how lame his fucking presidency would have been if he wouldn't have had shit to do. Anyways, we'll get there too. We're talking about Reaganomics right here. Reagan model remains the conservative standard for social, economic, and foreign policy issues. In recent years,
not anymore.
Well,
now it's gotten worse than that.
It's true.
The modern right-wing movement would consider Reagan like a rhino.
Huh. I'm starting to question this source here that I'm looking at.
Uh-oh.
Well, we'll see if it starts to get any more yikesy. All right, so we're going to Well, then we get to so after Reagan, you had social issues became the primary thing whenever they're not focused on foreign policy. So
yeah, basically all domestic policy became what we kind of recognize today as culture war stuff.
abortion, gun control, gay marriage have become important. I mean, those things
drug enforcement is probably, and not doing anything about the AIDS crisis.
Drug enforcement, yeah, the drug policy and the AIDS lack of policy for a while and stuff like those things continue to have pretty dramatic effect on the populations that just so happen to often be not conservatives, because
and also like arming every right-wing dictator on the planet or enabling right-wing agitators to become dictators.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, sometimes it has to happen. Sometimes you got to go and you got to give what were they called in Afghanistan? You had to help them out. You had to give them a bunch of guns and stuff. What was it?
The Mujahideen, I believe.
Yeah, that's it. And look, it's not like anything's going to come of that. Okay.
I'm sure nothing bad happens when we give those. And oops, some planes crashed.
Call blowback. All right, so then we go back to the 1930s. We'll take a pause, or not. I'm going to be silent for a moment as I kind of scan and make sure this is going where I want it to go. If not,
so one thing I want to talk about in the 1930s while you're scanning,
yeah,
is we look at the MAGA movement and the rallies, and the American right has done an excellent. Well, I think Americans in general all did a collective. We want to forget about the American Bund and the American Nazi Party and all of the fascist groups in America in the 1930s that had rallies in places like Madison Square Garden.
Yep.
Like we had a strong Nazi movement in this country right up until the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. And we actually put the things we did to the Japanese people in America, the Japanese Americans, is fucking horrific. Putting them in concentration camps. But we did that to Germans too, who were involved in, the American Nazi movement. We locked up some Germans too in those places.
So for anybody that thinks that is just surprised to hear this is a thing that happened, here's some imagery and some facts. It is a thing that happened, and these people, they didn't just change what they believed by and large. They just realized that they couldn't believe it out loud and proudly anymore.
Right.
That's not the direction that the economy is going. That's not the direction that the culture is going. And oops, I may have had a moment where I could have do this, but now I can't. In fact, I'd probably say that Nazis have never been so emboldened as they are now, except for then.
This time, yeah.
American Nazis.
Well, and I would like to hope that some of them had a bout of reality when sort of in two phases, right? Because you have obviously Japan, one of Germany's allies, bombs America in a sneak attack. And then the Germans also declare war on America shortly thereafter. So this German Bund never had America's best interests in its heart. And I would like to think that some people involved in this movement realized, oh, we've been fucking had. Yep. There it is.
Dun.
My secret shame.
I mean, you already mentioned it, but you actually mentioned it kind of in a positive way. So, I mean, in the sense that your governor's at least.
Yeah, my governor is great, but the state legislature is shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the idea that Nazis just went away, that as long as the Nazis went away, then Nazism is gone. That's another thing. It's no, these these guys clearly look fucking peak human here. Boop, what's going on with that butt, dude? Anyway,
dad ass. That is some thick Nazi ass right there.
So yes, the HUAC, which actually, we've covered HUAC.
Yeah, we talked about
And it's
HUAC, and
generally
yeah,
known as being the anti-communist thing. It was kind of started off a little bit as focusing on the American Nazis.
it was both anti-communist and anti-Nazi, and then over time, for reasons.
All right, so back to the message at hand, which is the timeline.
Yeah.
1930s, as the nation plunges into the deepest depression ever, Republicans and conservatives fell into disfavor. In 1930, 1932, 1934, losing more and more of their seats. Liberals, as in Democrats with a few Republicans and independents, come to power with the landslide 1932 election of liberal Democrat Franklin D. Roosevelt. In his first 100 days, Roosevelt pushes through a series of dramatic economic programs known as the New Deal.
Yep. And they fucking hate this.
Yeah, major metropolitan newspapers generally opposed the New Deal, as typified by, well, we haven't really covered them, have we? Not really. William Randolph Hearst.
Oh, Mr. Hearst.
He'd supported Roosevelt in 1932, but he parted ways in 1934. Robert R. McCormick, owner of the Chicago Tribune, compared the New Deal to communism. So there we are. We start to see in 1934 conservative capitalists. Really, it's capitalism more than it is just conservatism at this point. But one feeds the other, and they're just equating anything that might make them pay a little more in taxes, or is going to make them pay quite a bit more in taxes. Honestly,
he does.
As communism. What was it like? Like tax rate back then? It was high.
It was high, yeah, and it went to. But like you look at the American tax system back then and through the 50s and 60s and even into the 70s, that built America, right? We are kind of on top of a crumbling infrastructure that we refuse to take care of because the people who can pay to take care of it simply don't want to.
Right.
Because, and I think to tie it back to our pre-segment on comics, I think at the end of the day, I think if you take away all of the bullshit, all of the talking points, it is that if that number in their bank account goes up, that means they're winning something.
Yep.
I think you could kidnap Elon Musk, put him in a room with an Etch-a-Sketch, and just have just automate it for the line to go up, and that'd keep him busy.
Probably. Look, here's the way I see it: is that I don't approach this from a politically or economic ideological thing. It's like, to me, I see society as an organism, and
it is.
There's a symbiosis between everybody that we gives and takes, and not everybody is going to give and take the exact same amount. That's to be expected. But when you have people who are taking so much and receiving so much from the larger body of our larger organism of
they will give as little as possible.
That's just parasitic. That's just a parasite. Literally, not literally, but figuratively, a parasite on the system.
No, I think literally is right here. I think that they are parasitic, right? Like, look at the business model of Tesla. Tesla doesn't sell cars. They have places you buy Tesla cars, but that's not what they do, where their money comes from.
Yeah.
They sell government tax credits to other car manufacturers because of how our tax credit system for electric vehicles and for low emission vehicles works.
Yeah, we've got a system of economic system and legal system that at this point, you've got people that have gone to school and studied the shit out of how to manipulate this thing, and then you've got generations of knowledge of exploiting these systems that get passed down, and so by now you've got people that are really good at it.
Yeah.
There are people that are just like fucking experts at taking as much as possible, giving as little as possible. It's kind of crazy, and we need to do something about
it. Yeah. So
yeah,
I think Zen Bear has it right. Whatever, like that should be. We should have an anti-monarch. We should appoint Elon Musk the anti-monarch.
Yeah.
Like whatever he wants to do, we just all collectively agree to do the opposite.
I think we're gonna have to take a. I don't know if we want to do it today, but have you seen any of the highlights from that Don Lemon interview?
I have not, because I
Oh
personally
my!
don't want to give, for the same reason, like whenever something with like Trump, some news story about Trump makes its way, onto my news feed, I don't click on it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to drive traffic to that. Like I don't want
That is
someone
fair.
someone to get ad dollars about Elon Musk, because that just encourages.
Well, so what I had done was I'd watched the R.M. Brown one. I think was what I watched.
Oh,
Which,
okay, sure.
I like that guy getting money.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to do it, is to find someone you like who's covering it and
But
pay
like,
them for it.
he is so fucking stupid, dude.
He
Like,
he is not a smart man.
I know that it's easy for us to say that, seeing him do and say stupid shit. But like, when he responds to certain questions the way that he does, you just realize, oh fuck, he actually is as dumb as anybody else on Twitter that you might encounter. Like, maybe dumber. His response to, you know, America, he like basically doesn't believe that racism exists,
Right.
or that we shouldn't talk about it. He literally says, "Well, if we keep talking about it, it's never gonna, get better." That's what he said. And then he goes, we were all slaves at some point in history. He says,
Oh my god. This guy sounds like a fucking Afrikaner. Oh wait, he is.
Yeah, crystal flute.
Elon Musk, and so people like to compare him to Tony Stark, and I disagree.
No.
I disagree. He is not Tony Stark. You know what he is? He's a dollar store Justin Hammer.
He's Justin Hammer with like a fucking I don't know, he's gotten hit on the head too many times or something. Because Justin Hammer could at least, I think he could at least like put things together, even if they didn't work too well. Maybe, whereas like, I don't know that Elon can actually do anything. I don't know.
Like it, and he's so dumb. He gets caught all the time, and the only reason he gets out of it is his money, and that's drying up. Because his money isn't liquid. He goes, "Oh, I have all of this money," but he really doesn't, because here's the thing about rich people that people don't. That's why he's dollar store Justin Hammer. He's the great value Justin Hammer. He's no brand Justin Hammer. He is the cheap knockoff of the cheap knockoff.
Yeah, it's true.
Now I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. Who cares? It doesn't even matter.
All right, fuck him. Elon Musk sucks.
Yeah, Musk sucks. I was going to say that I do think it is worth watching maybe at some point in the future, or at least something where we get to know Musk a little better, because he does have an outsized influence.
Yeah, he has a huge. Right, well, and with the whole. So, like one of the things that like they've been trying to push lately, and it seems like the deal is dead thanks to the Senate, is trying to force the company that owns TikTok to sell.
Yeah.
And there is already like a conglomerate of billionaires who want to pull an Elon Musk and buy up TikTok to just make it another, Nazi cesspit.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it seems like the Senate has decided this bill is gonna collect dust and die. Which good for them. Because the idea that making TikTok sell to an American company for child safety is fucking bullshit. Because they don't care about child safety. That's just the excuse. And it's an excuse they keep fucking using. Everything we've covered on this show has had some level of like, think about the children. And every single fucking time it is said by the people who care about the children the least.
Yep. The same people that, literally will do, they've taken school lunches away. They, take away any kind of assistance for needy, poor families. They work to get rid of that shit all the time.
They've taken away, they've increased class sizes. They've taken away programs. They've canceled advanced placement programs, so students can't get into college as easily. And if they do, college is then more expensive because AP classes give college credit. They created the student loan system that exists just to keep poor people who did make it to college poor. Fun fact from that Behind the Bastards episode. They don't just want it to come back, they're making it come back in places. I had some shit for brains tell me that, like, oh, you want to mutilate children because you're trans. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That's dumb.
Yeah, where were you at whenever I was getting mutilated when I was born? Huh?
Circumcised?
Yeah.
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 That's child mutilation. But like just another chicken factory last week got shut down by health inspectors because they were fucking, butchering kids in the fucking cleaning machines that they're not supposed to be cleaning. Conservatism is just about convincing people they should be poor.
Yeah, so like he's just really, really dumb. Okay, so
yeah,
I guess we need to kind of identify a stopping point and get there for today.
Sure. So, do we have anything on our friends at the John Birch Society?
Yeah, we've just kind of, I guess we've kind of gotten there, and we're gonna have to dive into them a little bit deeper than just like the end of the show today.
Sure.
But
so that'll have to be next time then. Is Johnny B?
Well, I mean, so there's a lot more in the 1930s and 40s that we could go into and touch on, but I'm gonna have it more organized now that I have an idea for the flow of what.
Okay, you got a vibe for it already.
So after the war, businessmen opposed the New Deal, liberalism. For anybody that's not aware, by the way, it can be confusing. It's not something that is taught. You kind of just have to learn it on the internet, often by being embarrassed by mistaking one for the other. Liberalism is not just like you're a liberal. Liberalism is what conservatives were as well. Conservatives and Democrats, Republicans, both fell under liberalism.
So this is why you hear them talk about, like, I'm a classical liberal.
Yeah.
But now liberal means everything to the left of, pole of a.
Well, because liberalism generally meant what it meant was just the government actually doing things that benefits people, instead of which is the libertarian think tank ideal is to strip away everything except the absolute utter basic protections for rich people.
Right, and specifically for them.
They think in their minds, like they make the world go round. They, as long as they are free to do what they need to do to make money, then they'll have people. A rising tide of money lifts all ships on a tide of money. I guess I don't know, but it doesn't make any sense, and it's not actually true. Just this trickle down isn't true, and all these things aren't true.
It's a fake.
So they're in the post-war era. You had a few business owners, kind of industry leaders and stuff like that, who one in particular, but a few of them who got kind of paranoid about there was a leftist kind of spike in the U.S. There was labor movements were happening and stuff, and they were actually winning some labor rights in some cases.
Yeah.
Like little kids didn't have to work in mines and shit like that.
Weekends. The right to unionize without getting shot.
And that, my friends, is unacceptable to a fucking craven capitalist's bottom line.
Because the number has to go up, Dan. You don't understand.
Number got to go up. Dario Agger said it.
My number, I need it higher.
The fucking bull man told us. Let's see. So they promoted statewide right to work campaigns. Now you might be from a state that if you ever had a job, you've probably had to sign a right to work form, meaning that you can get fired for whatever fucking reason they just want to. They may have to fill it out a certain ways to avoid any kind of legal liability, but they can really do it for whatever reason they want. But at the same time, hey, you have the freedom to quit too,
right?
And get nothing, except like you put a job, so now it's going to look bad for your next job,
right?
Trying to get to the okay, so we get to William F. Buckley being kind of like the thought leader of the 50s who kind of brought conservative thought to mainstream, discourse, right? Like he would do debates, he would do discussions, TV and stuff. There was that famous debate with him and who was the other guy? I forget his name.
I don't remember.
He was a gay fella. I don't think that was like discussed then, but like in hindsight, it's pretty clear.
Interesting.
So William F. Buckley, he started the National Review, which is a weekly magazine.
The right-wing rag.
Right-wing rag represented traditionalist Catholics, libertarians, and ex-communists. The most notable were Russell Kirk, James Burnham, Frank Meyer, Wilmore Kendall, L. Bince Bozell Jr., and Whittaker Chambers. And if those, sound like a bunch of rich guys,
those names could not sound more moneyed.
And this is where look, this name popping up in 1957. Russian-born philosopher Ayn Rand publishes her novel Atlas Shrugged. It attracts the libertarian wing of American conservatism by promoting aggressive entrepreneurship and rejecting religion and altruism. They like to avoid that religion part these days.
Now they do, yeah.
I'm trying to get to it. Where the hell is the goddamn? So you got the New Left starts forming at this point. Liberalism made major gains after Kennedy's assassination in 1963,
which they were happy about.
Movement conservatism emerges as grassroots activists react to liberal and New Left agendas. Develops a structure that supports Goldwater in 1964 and Ronald Reagan in 76 to 80.
We should talk about what that liberal thing that they are rising up against. That's desegregation.
Yes. This is where
this is the breaking point. This is really what, for your everyday conservative, not your rich conservatives, because they were already upsetty spaghetti. They were already like anti-union and all that stuff. What got your average conservative mad was desegregating the schools. And they went all the fuck in making that a big deal.
So, wow, Nixon was, what a guy, man. He was a real brave. So, right at this point, you had a split in the Republican Party as well.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like we're seeing now, not entirely different, but kind of. Okay, so in the mid-1960s, the GOP debates, they debate race, civil rights, as Morgan was just saying. Republican liberals, led by Nelson Rockefeller. What? Republican liberal? What? Yeah, we don't really have those anymore. He argued for a strong federal role because it was morally right and politically advantageous. Conservatives, though, called for more limited federal presence and discount the possibility of significant black voter support. They didn't even want it.
No.
But Nixon, Nixon avoided the race issues in 1968.
Yeah, Nixon dodged that, he had to, right?
Yeah,
he had to.
Like, I don't know anything about it. I'm gonna what's that over there? Oh.
But then, the war on drugs starts with Nixon, yeah. And this is the religious right was really pushed forward also by opposing desegregation and saying, oh yeah, we can still segregate our white Christian schools. You can come here and give us money. And that's why to this day, look who's pushing, school voucher programs and what's called school choice, which is really just giving tax dollars to private, usually Christian institutions.
Wow. Sorry, I'm kind of getting distracted. So there was a restructuring of how the executive branch functioned at this point in the 60s. I didn't know that. Because
well, I know one part of that, but I don't know all of it. So
in 1960, GOP presidential nominee Richard Nixon strikes a deal with liberal leader. They didn't actually do it because he didn't win. But Richard Nixon strikes a deal with liberal leader Nelson Rockefeller, and it angered a lot of the conservatives.
Sure.
Nixon agrees to put all 14 of Rockefeller's demands into the party platform. including promises that the executive branch be totally reorganized and that Rockefeller's liberal policies on economic growth, medical care for the aged, and civil rights be included. Wow.
Wow.
Imagine if he'd have been one. Like, maybe he wouldn't have done anything at all. Who knows?
Probably.
Led by Goldwater, conservatives vow to organize at the grassroots and take control of the GOP. So that's really where the Goldwater split happened with, like, oh, he actually fucking Nixon is a cuck. He would have said if it was modern, current fucking day. Goldwater publishes The Conscience of a Conservative. The book helps the Arizona senator reignite the conservative movement. So then, blah, 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 blah. William F. Buckley forms a youth group called the Young Americans for Freedom. Nixon loses. Blah, blah, blah. National Review. Here we go. So, did I miss the first mention of the John Birch Society? I guess so.
I haven't heard it yet.
My bad. Okay, so yeah, kind of sprouted from McCarthyism a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure, because Goldwater was a big fan of anti-communism.
So John Birch Society is at the time was seen by pretty much everybody, even other conservatives, as being a bunch of batshit crazy peoples, crazy pants. You know, McGillicuddy. I don't know. This American right-wing political advocacy group, founded in 1958. It's anti-communist, supports social conservatism, and is associated with ultra-conservative, radical right, far right, right-wing populist, and right-wing libertarian ideas. That sounds a lot more like MAGA than anything else that we looked at earlier, right?
Yeah, I think that all sounds like what we have today as far as the MAGA movement, only now instead of being like a fringe group within the broader GOP tent, it is the GOP tent.
So as I was starting to get to, the conservative William F. Buckley in his National Review, they wrote a scathing denunciation of the John Birch Society in the 60s. And basically that was believed to have killed the movement more or less effectively, like kind of just cut them out, excised them from politics as being a legitimate thing. And I guess it did. But like, once again, the ideas underneath, they continue to be disseminated. They continue to be pushed. And then you start seeing them popping up in nearly identical forms today. Bircherism and its legacy of conspiracy theories began making a resurgence in the 2010s and had become a dominant strain in the conservative movement. In particular, they argued that the John Birch Society and its beliefs shaped the Republican Party, the Trump administration, and the broader conservative movement. Yeah, I'd say so. Collectivism is a cancer, according to the John Birch Society, and by extension, communism and big government. Allegations that so-called insiders have conspired to control the United States through communism and world governments are a recurring theme of JBS publications.
And that is survived like in the form of the deep state.
Yeah, and that's actually what's crazy about the Project 2025 is they're actually going after the quote unquote deep state with it, right? That's what the hiring of their own loyalists is about, like the bureaucracy. It's kind of crazy that they're actually,
but it's about doing a deep state, right?
Yeah, they're like telling us they've been telling us what they wanted to do by saying, "Oh, they got the deep state," and it's like, "Oh, so this is what you want to do?" Okay.
Every accusation is a confession.
They promoted Americanism as the philosophical antithesis of communism. It's contended that the United States is a republic, not a democracy, and argued that states' rights should supersede those of federal government. States' rights to what? That's what I'll always say.
That is always the question, right?
Well, states' rights to, make you work for as little pay as possible and no benefits and no right to, advocate for yourself with your employer. You gotta fucking your kids or whatever. Like they got to work too.
Yep.
they're-
If
a
you're
lot of-
not if you're not our version of Christianity, which will change, then we will do awful things to you. If you are the wrong skin color, we will do awful things to you.
So what's wacky is that, like, so you have Alex Jones, who for years a lot of people have been aware of him for a long time, and for a lot of time that I knew of him, he seemed pretty harmless because he was just saying shit that was so detached from what anyone perceived as reality or anything. They're like,
Do you
oh,
want to know how I first heard about Alex Jones?
yeah,
Coast to Coast AM.
yeah,
Because for as long as I can remember, I've fallen asleep. Well, now I do it with like a podcast or an audiobook, but I would fall asleep with the radio on. And like one of the radio stations in town would cut over to Coast AM at a certain point.
mm-hmm.
And it'd just be on at night. And sometimes I would wake up to go to the bathroom or whatever, it would be on. If I had to wake up early for something, it would be on.
And what was his name? The host,
Art something.
Yeah, Art Bell. Was that right?
Yeah.
And like he had a pretty soothing voice, so I'd imagine,
right? Yeah, real good for that.
That sometimes you'd be suddenly woken up by this other voice,
by
right?
this Alex Jones motherfucker. He's a fucking weirdo.
If you ever seen Waking Life, the movie Waking Life, Alex Jones actually has a bit in that
oh, Jesus Christ,
it utilizes him well. I'll say that.
So like that was the kind of person he was, though. He wasn't like this like person that a presidential candidate would go on his show. He was the guy up at midnight with the fucking aliens and psychic guy.
You got to start somewhere, I guess. You know how I first heard of Alex Jones was I moved to Austin from my hometown in Texas in 2005.
Sure.
And, Alex Jones is he's stationed there.
Yeah.
And I never heard of him or anything. And then I started seeing like at stoplights, I would see on like stickers on the light poles and stuff. InfoWars or Prison Planet.
Right.
Shit like that. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? And then finally somebody that lived there was like, oh, it's just this fucking crazy ass radio show, YouTube show, whatever. I'm like, oh, crazy. And then as I started making friends and playing in rock bands and stuff, and then I was a bit of a weed smoker, like a dope doer. And I'd go hang out with some dudes or whatever, and we'd be like playing some music and stuff, and then suddenly they'd be like cool guys, smart guys, right? And in pretty much every way that I could tell. And then suddenly they would be like, you heard about that, blah, blah, blah. And they'd like pull up some Alex Jones video. And I'm like, oh God, what? No, you're taking this seriously.
Right.
This seems crazy pants.
Well, and this is the thing with, the thing with smart people I have learned in my life is smart people are smart in a finite number of things.
Yeah.
And then that's right. Like, then they're dumb everywhere else. And that's not, there's no shame in being dumb everywhere else. It's just sometimes you have to like trust other people and work with your community to like, hey, is this fucking nuts? And like be a little skeptical of your own beliefs. And that is not what Alex Jones is all about. It is all about giving you a simple answer to an uncomfortable problem.
Yep.
And that's why they boil it down so much to these really simple to understand sound bites. And why they don't share studies, they share opinion pieces.
And yet they also can keep feeding you panic at the same time. It's kind of weird.
Right.
That keeps you coming back. Right?
They have a simple solution, so it's easy for them to sell you the next simple solution when the first simple solution doesn't come to pass.
So what I was getting at with Alex Jones is he seemed crazy pants, like, oh, what? But like then you see what the John Birch Society was about, which now is becoming popular there is just the MAGA movement, really.
It's modern conservatism.
They oppose one world government, whatever the fuck that means. The United Nations, NATO, I'm sorry, not NAFTA, and then
also now NATO. Well,
yeah,
not the John Birch Society. I believe they were pro-NATO.
It argues that the U.S. Constitution has been devalued in favor of political and economic globalization It has cited the existence of the former Security and Prosperity Partnership as evidence of a push towards a North American Union. The JBS has sought immigration reduction.
Wow,
They've opposed the Civil Rights Movement of the 60s and the Equal Rights Amendment of the 70s. It's campaigned for state nullification. It opposes efforts to call an Article 5 convention to amend the U.S. Constitution. And it has been influential in promoting opposition to it among Republican legislators. The JBS also supports auditing and eventually dismantling the Federal Reserve. So you start to see
big
that
about, which is always a weird, like, I always wonder about that one because, like, the Federal Reserve is such a big part of the shell game as to how our rich stay rich.
Yeah.
So, like, dismantling the Federal Reserve will never happen because honestly, given how financial policy and how this movement behaves, they will just rename it and it will just keep doing what it does, but they will have gotten rid of the Fed.
They have a publication called The New American. And it's described what it sees as American moral decline, degeneracy, I suppose you could say, and the threats to the family, including abortion, birth control, divorce, drugs, homosexuality, crime, violence, secular humanism, teenage pregnancy, teen suicide, environmentalism, feminism, and pornography. So, like, when you think just 2 seconds about what would be the simple solution if you just were going to decide on something that would kind of address all those things, fascism.
Yeah.
Or it would attempt to
address all those things. It's like the simplest way to get there is doing a fascism, doing a authoritarian religious takeover. I suspect they consider themselves not fascists because that would cause too much cognitive dissonance. And I think that's why even today, I think the modern right is, a lot of them are allergic to being called fascists and get really defensive when, like, oh, the person, especially if, like, they're not a fascist, right? If you talk to a conservative who isn't MAGA and you go, like, some of the stuff going on seems pretty fashy, and they will get all weird and defensive. And it's because that, like, it's that cognitive dissonance of, like, they see something as wrong. They recognize that the Republican Party is not what they want it to be.
Well, they probably think of it as just like, oh, it's just a few grifters that have taken over the party kind of thing.
Right? It's like, no. Like, I mean, just like last month, they put one of Don Trump's family members in charge of the RNC, and they're going to fucking vacuum it dry to pay for his legal bills.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. That might be one of the best things we have going for us for this election.
Yeah, I feel like if I'm a sketchy billionaire, like, my money's going somewhere else, right? Like, I am gonna hedge my bets.
Well, I mean, and then what money they do take in, they're probably gonna not manage super well.
Well, no, because they've already said they're gonna give it to his legal expenses. So, and those aren't going away.
So what has been the JBS influence on conservatism? Well, it contributed to the development of modern American conservatism through its organizational tactics and its promotion of right-wing political views. Despite never considering itself a religious organization, the JBS played a role in the rise of the moral majority, which we got to do an episode on the moral majority sometime.
That'll be, probably early May.
And the Christian right as a major political force, ideologically and tactically influencing multiple leaders in that movement, including Tim LaHaye, Phyllis Schlafly. The historian DJ Malloy wrote in 2014 that the JBS has served as a kind of bridge between the old right, including the McCarthyites of the 40s and 50s, the new right of the 70s and 80s, and the Tea Party right of the 21st century. So, yeah, they're like this.
The Tea Party really is kind of where this
blue.
Yeah, the Tea Party really is where MAGA comes from. Like, because the Tea Party sold itself not on the racism, but on an opposition to Obama's policies was the, like, ideological basis for it. Because it was about taxation, even though Obama didn't really raise taxes, but that's neither here nor there. He was going to, gosh darn it. But Trump with his birther shit, it was the mega movement is Tea Party, the Tea Party movement plus the birther conspiracy is the soil and the seed of MAGA. Where you had this government is bad, but also government let this black guy who's definitely not an American, no matter how much you show he's American, and it just all kind of blooms from there. No, not they wanted to be that's what they were invoking, Maestro. Does the Boston Tea Party? I believe it stood for taxed enough already. I believe it was a fucking acronym.
That's right. I forget that. I forgot that until you said it. I'm like, oh god, it was an acronym. No, so and I fell for it for a hot minute. I was like, this Ron Paul guy is pretty cool. Like, look at him, man. He's like, no bullshit. He just wants to. He just wants to spend money wisely. Like, what's wrong with that? And I don't even know what the Fed is, but he wants to get rid of it. Cool, whatever. And I'm sure that's about like how most of the people that were supporting him were.
Well, and I think like Ron Paul had a benefit of like, if you were an American our age who came from a more conservative family background, he had the benefit of being the least violently crazy.
Yeah, but then I started seeing the pictures of him with like fucking grand wizards of the KKK.
Right, yeah. Well, he didn't want to show that off too much.
Yeah, you start looking a little deeper and you're like, oh, this guy's got a history. He's got some baggage. But like on the surface level, right? It's like, well, this guy, like, the other Republicans are giving me the yuckies, especially like, for people our age who are like, I've had friends go overseas. I had friends not come back from overseas. He was like, it was easy. I definitely felt the appeal of him. And then it was like, you dig a little deeper because, me being me, I'm like, I want to know more about this guy. And you dig in, you're like, oh gods. Oh, fuck. The fuck. Yeah. And then like, and his son's a piece of shit too. Jesus.
His son's a bigger piece of shit than him.
That's true. I mean, yeah.
Because all his son did was like ride on his coattails and sell out his dad.
Yeah. If I can admit something kind of embarrassing here.
Sure.
I guess not. I'm not embarrassed. In 2012, I was so fucking scared of Mitt Romney winning the presidency. I was like, this guy is gonna he works for Bain Capital. He's gonna gut our country, like, and maybe he would have. Who knows? But look, I'll be honest. I kind of wish I could go back in time and be like, dude, just chill out. For one thing, he doesn't win. But even if he did, like, you don't know how bad it's gonna get.
You don't know what's coming. Like, yeah.
I would take a Romney over a Trump any day at this point.
Well, I mean,
especially because Romney's like one of the only guys that consistently kind of just was like, fuck you, Trump,
Well, and one of the things that Romney got right in his like political hello?
What?
All my screens went dead.
Okay,
you can hear me. Okay, we're back. We're all good. We're all fine here. Thanks. How are you?
Hey. Boring conversation anyway.
Yeah. Well, one of the things Romney got right in 2012 was that Russia was going to be a fucking problem and that Putin was going to be a fucking problem in Eastern Europe based on stuff that was already sort of fomenting then. And he was right. But yeah, I do think that Romney, like, this is the same thing with what's her face? The one who helped the January 6th commission.
So Bob of the old ways, I mean, that may be the case. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure you're right about that, but do you think Romney would bring in the same level of fucking just like scumbaggery? Like, they may not be good people that Romney brings into his administration and stuff like that, but like, they're just whoever compliments him the most scumbags like Trump does, right? Like, or pays it, like, there's a distinction there. They may have the same, but there's going to be a distinction in how that's all executed for sure.
Yeah, I think that like I don't want to like predict like how different it would be if we had a Romney president, because we don't live in that world. Same thing with the people go, oh, what if Al Gore won? Well, what if we don't live in that world?
I
But
mean, Al Gore did win, but
yeah,
anyway.
that's true. Al Gore did win, but the rat fuckers in the Supreme Court. We need to expand the Supreme Court and apply term limits and make them live in a dungeon. Here is my. I'm gonna go on a tangent here. I got to get on a soapbox.
Sweet.
Here is my solution to the Supreme Court question. All the money issues, all the, are they political? Aren't they political? When you are nominated to the Supreme Court, if I were president and I had a supermajority in both houses of Congress, I would be like, all right, here's the plan, folks. The people on the Supreme Court and people who want to become Supreme Court justices have to live in a fucking dungeon. We will feed them. We will take care of them. It will be very comfortable, but they will not see the light of day except when they go to do a trial. They will consume no news media whatsoever. If they really are an apolitical body who isn't influenced by money and isn't concerned about that, they should be able to live comfortably in a dungeon until they're ready to retire. Anyways, off my soapbox. But yeah, I do agree Romney would support a lot of the Project 2025 stuff. Especially a lot of the religious conservative stuff. And all of the like the back end stuff, all of the fucking deregulation and fiscal fuckery, and all of removing the environmental protections. Like, he would just be softer on the culture war shit, probably because he doesn't care, right? That's a means to an end. Where, like, with Trump, the culture war is how he stays relevant. Trump isn't a policy guy. He's not a regulation guy. He's a gangster. He's a propagandist.
True.
That's why he leans so heavily on the culture war, is because he can't argue policy, but he can go, those people are bad. He can saber rattle like nobody else.
That wasn't just any oil tanker, Daniel. If you remember, at the end of the movie, it showed us the name of that oil tanker. It was the Exxon Valdez.
Was it really?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's funny. Because that movie was well before that crash, wasn't it?
I think it was after.
Was it after?
I think. I mean, it had to have been, right? Like,
I don't know.
Unless they just did like a really specific prediction.
Okay, now I got to look this up.
I always remember the line from that Dennis Hopper saying, "He's like a turd."
Oh, you're right. Flush. It is. Yeah, the Exxon Valdez spill was actually in the 80s. This is the problem with the time vortex.
Yeah. I'm just saying, Bob of the old ways. I mean, like, you're trying to convince us of something when you don't need to, because it's like, that's not a thing that's happening. But fantasy scenario, if it's just like, choose Trump or Romney. Sorry, man. I'll go with the guy that tied his dog to a fucking car.
Yeah, if it's gun to my head, sure. But good news is I don't have that gun to my head. So yeah, I guess, the Exxon Valdez spill was before Waterworld came out, and I live in a time. Well, okay.
I mean, Trump would not own a dog in the first place, because he doesn't even have that amount of empathy, right? Like, he doesn't even understand, I'm sure, the connection to a dog that a person might have. It's much less to have it and then tie it to the car because he's a fucking moron.
I think we're arguing units of anti-empathy, and I don't want to argue which one has less empathy, because like we're an anti-empathy now. That's
the name of my fucking black metal band. I'm gonna.
Oh fuck yeah, it's a great
anti-empathy.
That one's on the house. So I have an aside I wanna touch on. Okay. How are we doing on what you wanted to cover?
Well, I mean, we're about where we're okay. We're right. Good. So, like, I figure we want to cut it off at the 2.5 hour mark that we have as of now. 6 minutes.
Sure. So I want to talk about something about like the state of Christian authoritarianism in the world. And how it sort of ties into intersectionality and the stuff we talk about on this show. Richard Dawkins is a fucker. And he's been a fucker for a long time. If you need me to go into that, let me know in chat. But he's a sexist, a racist, done some mild pedophilia apologia over the years. And now he is calling himself a cultural Christian. And like, this is the reactionary movement in a nutshell, right? It's just like, it sells you more. Okay, go in. All right. So Richard Dawkins, in 2010, a woman was, the Richard Dawkins. Yeah. Richard Dawkins is a famous atheist. He's a geneticist. He actually invented the word meme. He defined that word for us, which is why he should go to hell. But yeah, Ayan Hirsi Ali did this. They've come out as culturally Christian as a justification for their bigotry. Because Richard Dawkins is always like, he made his bones on I did not know he's a eugenicist. Hyper fuck him then, I guess, if that is the case. But he has opposed feminism and atheism, and did so under the guise of like, well, the Muslims are worse. He's very, very Islamophobic, and not like in a all religions are superstition kind of way, and like that religion in particular, because, you know, now he is out saying, oh yeah, I'm a cultural Christian. All the Christian stuff is, you know, I don't believe it, but it's fine. And like, no, the fuck it isn't. Excuse me. But he is, the last several years, followed this J.K. Rowling model of just like randomly talking about trans issues that he doesn't really seem to know anything about. Yeah, I know, Bob. But yeah, it's there was a brand of atheists that just were atheists to be Islamophobes, and now they are all coming out in favor of this Christian nationalism. And it's just, it strikes me all as just this justification for their bigotry. They will just move it. Bigots will always find a reason to be bigots. And so it was easy to do that in the 2000s by calling yourself an atheist. Oh, gods. Beat me to it, huh? All right.
I knew I'd seen a video of somebody talking about this. I couldn't remember who it was, and I was like, "Who? Oh, okay, yep, the new atheist movement." You know what this is? You know what this is? It's, in my opinion, skeptics, atheists, who kind of got a little too comfortable in their reason being their ultimate, tool, right? Like, and after a while, just they got too comfortable, they didn't question it, and then that, they allow those bigotries to develop, right? If they didn't already have them, or
it was atheism without skepticism or humanism.
Yeah, exactly. Yes,
it was they got a question right, and they figured they had all the answers. And slightly in their defense, people treated them like they had all the answers, but they didn't. And please, no one think I have all the answers, that I'm always correct. I am certainly wrong on things. I certainly miss things.
You know what the thing is, that the reason that my channel is focuses so much on like pushing back against like objectivity and being, you're not a fan if you don't, or this is the one, this is good and this is bad and you don't think this, blah blah blah, is because of this. Because I think that that's the fundamental human error, is to allow ourselves to fall into the trap of thinking that our experience, our perspective is the one that,
it's the one that matters, right?
And like, if you the moment that you fucking let that happen, even for a minute, you're gonna miss something, and you're gonna be kind of on some kind of irrational tip, right? Like,
right.
And that's why I think that you kind of have to constantly be checking your subjectivity, and yeah, and just realizing that there's any number of things that you can be missing or not considering, simply because you're not considering another perspective or experience. But
the other thing I would like to play, because she's a topic of a show a few weeks ago, Higher Rychek was asked to define woke.
Yeah, I got that actually.
You got that? You want to play that for us? I would.
Yeah.
I would love it. Because I ended that show on a prophecy that I received from the god Apollo, about how she was going to die unremembered, unremarked, and will not be missed or considered.
All right, so I got one clip here, and then we'll play the second one and end on that.
All right, because this is phase 1 of my prophecy coming true.
Yeah.
It's in our kids' schools. It's on the college campuses. It is in the workforce. It is in the streets. It's when you go to the store. I mean, like, you can't do anything in peace without this wokeness being shoved down your throat wherever you go. So, do you have a question? Is there something funny?
I do.
Yeah, sure.
How do you define wokeness?
Wokeness is the destruction of normalcy and
The destruction of normality. 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 All right, back to this.
Bigot.
Thanks, Eric. This is exactly what I thought would be, you know, her star would rise, but like any asshole, you put him before public, and people like her, they will fall.
I will say though, look, I will say this. These Domino's ads are getting pretty good. I'm kind of hungry for some Domino's now.
Well, it has been 2.5 hours. We're a little rambly.
Yeah, I kind of expected that to a degree. You know,
Yeah.
and if you missed the beginning of the stream, I showed the chunky monkey thing, right? Like, why would you bring that up, Dane? You know, like that's what I figure some people are probably thinking. Like, why you kind of, you know, that's in the past. Don't let them give them that fuel or that ammunition or whatever. It's like, no, I want them to have it. I want Chuds to bring that up to me, because then I know instantly that they're not someone that I need to engage with or take seriously. You know, like you can talk about I'm not going to say his actual channel name, but Beta Birdie. He's a channel. You know, he's a fucking dipshit. He's a guy who wanted to debate me, but then wouldn't give me his email address because he was afraid I was going to do something to him through his email.
Jesus Christ.
He's a guy who literally told me, "Oh, of course you have a cat. You're a liberal." He literally thinks that conservatives are dog people and liberals are cat people. And if there's some kind of feminist kind of thing about having a cat or some bullshit, like just the most cartoonish fucking shit. He's a goddamn moron. He's got a little channel, and he's made the most views on any video that he's ever gotten. He got
talking about
doing
you.
a fucking chunky monkey video about me taking shit out of context. Yep. You know, I just fucking, that's pathetic. And I just, that's the kind of shit that they do. Like when you had Tony from Geek Getaway literally acknowledge, like, yeah, if people were calling you racist and they're like on the right or whatever, then they were just kind of doing it bad faith to fuck with me. And I was like, yeah, I know, I knew that then. It, like, my concern for a brief moment was like, oh man, what if some leftists actually kind of, you know, approached me with like, this is really fucked up? Then I would, you know, I'd feel really bad and I would do what I needed to do. But like, nobody did. I asked people, you know what I mean? I looked around to see if what I had said was somehow something that needed to be fucking apologized for. And like, you know, nope, it's just not. And that's all they got. That's what conservatism has got. They got fucking nothing. And that's what they've built their movement on for at least the last several years. But I mean, in general, probably the entire thing the whole time. They got nothing. Fucking.
But understanding the nothing is important, right? It's not that they have nothing because they've crafted this whole mythology, for lack of a better word.
Sure.
And it is based on, it's a mythology, right? It's not real. And I think that they're even their version of Christianity is like really cherry picked and stuff, right? Like it's just the default version in America because it's well financed, either by right wing Catholics or, you know, reactionary preachers with mega churches that fucking scam poor people. And Trump uses that same scam to scam poor people out of their social security checks to, you know, pay his fines and stuff.
Well, you know, she has an audience that is just like built on fucking drama and shit. So I'm not surprised that she would, you know, that would draw a bunch of people to that video.
You know what makes me so happy, Dane?
What's that?
I can't keep any of these people straight. Like, which one is which? I just like, I don't know anymore. They're all just like focused on the drama and like the weird ass talking points, and their talking points have become so fucking uniform that it's like, I don't, which one's as now? Like, oh, it's the pronouns guy. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
But I have to be reminded every time, like, which asshole is which, because they all fucking, one of them dealt drugs. I know that's one of them, but like they all fucking blend together.
Yep.
They have nothing interesting to say. It's all just fucking rage bait.
It really is. It really is. And it's just dumb. It's
I don't want you to be angry.
dumb.
I want you to be active.
There was a second clip though, with the old Kaya situation there.
Ooh, we got a second clip, and then we're gonna go out on that.
Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna figure out which one did I play already, because
you played.
Okay.
The one where she tries to give the definition and the people in the back laugh.
Okay. We might not go out on this if it's not very entertaining.
All right.
But nonetheless, you guys hit the like button.
Yeah, like,
and subscribe.
Check
and,
out the Patreon.
If you're not subscribed over on the Forced Diversity podcast channel, I wish you would.
I wish you would too.
We're streaming simultaneously from there. It is linked in the description. And you know, I think we're right at 250 subs, which, you know, that's I'll be honest, those are low numbers.
Yeah,
I should be pushing it more. Yeah, it is
because one day if that channel gets big enough, we could just stream over there and monetize it, and then Dane would get paid again.
And another thing too is one day I might not be doing like chud content all the time, right? But I'll still be doing Forced Diversity podcast, so that's something you want to stick with as a legacy thing.
Yeah. Well, and you know, like the chud content, like it's definitely boring for me, right? Like I'll fully cop to like the initiative streams. I don't tune in every week. I'm just like, oh, what are they talking about? Oh, okay, I'm gonna pass on that one.
Oh, by the way, I did want to shout out the Patreon.
Yep.
I had someone do a nerd tube. That's a channel that, you know, some cool folks over there that have some good conversations. They did a trial membership. You can do that on Patreon. You can be a member and get the benefits of a member for a week. And you know, be sure to check all that out. If you do that, it's free thing.
Yeah.
And then you can decide if you want to just follow me for free or actually be a member. But NerdTube did decide to be based as fuck. That's
nice. Thanks,
awesome.
NerdTube.
I think it might be the first one that's done the trial period and then actually said, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give this person some money.
Fuck yeah. All right, you rock, NerdTube.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, here we go. Here's this thing. Follow up on that Kaya bullshit.
The destruction of normalcy and
So anti-Americanism. I'm sick and tired of.
Are those separate things?
That, America isn't worth fighting and dying for. It's a great country. It's the greatest country in the history of the world. I would say that attacks on our American way of life is wokeism.
So that's broadly though. Like, you know, Al Qaeda attacks American lives. Are they woke?
Well, maybe in some ways.
Are they a woke terrorist group?
So this is seeping into everywhere. It's in our schools. Like just a couple weeks ago, the governor.
She's so dumb.
Everywhere I go, I see his face.
I'll eat your ass. I will. And that's why I want the globe to know. I will eat your ass first. I will eat your ass.
May Bill Gaines shine his heavenly light upon you and impregnate you with many happy days and joy fetuses. May your anuses be cleansed by the purifying light that exudes from Bill Gaines' eternal dragon phallus. Should you meet your mortal demise this day, go with comfort that you have satisfied the commands of the one true Bill, those being this: read comic books. Fuck the dumb shit. Be yourself. Love each other. Also, read more comics and grow your hair out all goddamn wild. Amen.
Actual fandom is not going to stop.